One of my favorite coin designs was the development of the 2009 St. Gaudens Double Eagle Ultra High Relief, because I believe that that design captures the spirit of capturing American values on a canvas that's only as big as a small metal disc. Teddy Roosevelt had become president of the United States, and he had a closet hobby of being a coin collector. Plus, he became president right at the turn of the century, and every time you have a turn of the century, you have a reflection on nationalism. So a lot of countries were thinking through what it meant to be part of that country. And Teddy Roosevelt began thinking through coins. And his thing was, if coins are an extension of America's identity, what are our coins saying about our country? And he said, when I look at it, what they're saying is we're basically a European country, because all the coins have a side profile on the front and symbols of power on the back. And what he wanted was, because he believed coins were an extension of a country's identity, he wanted a uniquely American coin, believing that America had survived 150 years up to that point, wasn't going to go away. So what image, what set of values did he want to communicate through the design of coins? So he went to the most prominent artist of the time, Augustus St. Gaudens, who was also interested in exploring what it meant to have American-looking art. So he was primarily a sculptor, but he drew and a number of other things. But he was saying, how does sculpture look uniquely American and not Asian, or not British, or not African? And so it was just a great marriage. Roosevelt asked St. Gaudens to say, I want you to think through American designs for American coins. And that's when he came up with both the eagle and double eagle, of which the double eagle is what the ultra high relief was based on. So when you look at that particular design, automatically it says a different thing about our country. Instead of having a side portrait of a leader, it had the full figure of liberty. So automatically, that does not exist in any other nation's coins, right? So, and what is Liberty wearing? She's wearing a gown that is rooted in Greek and Roman inspiration. So what he was saying is the roots of liberty are in Western civilization. This didn't come out of Confucius, it didn't come out of African tribalism, this didn't come out of Native American spiritualism. The concept of liberty is strictly rooted in Greek and Roman civilization, Western civilization. Second, Liberty is holding a torch, leading in front of her and carrying an olive branch in the back. And what that symbolism is if you were a Christian, you would believe that torch would be the lamp of God. And if you weren't a Christian, you would believe that that torch means enlightenment. And of course, the olive branch means peace. So by putting those things together, what was he saying? Where God or enlightenment leads liberty and liberty follows, then peace is going to come to that particular country. And then further, when you look at her, she's climbing on top of a mountain, and below in the valley is the US Capitol. And what that symbolizes is liberty has already visited the United States, the Capitol being the symbol of our democracy, and is now marching into the rest of the world. And so that's why when he made that coin, he also made it in what's called high relief. So the coin design itself protruded, liberty protruded so high off the base of the coin that not only was it looked like a sculpture embedded into the coin, but to the viewer, she was marching so forcefully into the world, she was popping out of the coin into the viewer's face. And that's what America believed in herself in 1906. When you look at the reverse, what you'll see is a young American bald eagle, young enough that its white bald crown hasn't come in yet, and it's flying over a sunrise. So the symbolism is very clear. America is a very young country at the very beginning of its day. That tells the story of America, and that's the design piece is what I think makes that coin so great. Then you get to the technological piece. And back then, it was very difficult to make the coin that St. Gaudens and Roosevelt originally envisioned, because in order to get that high of relief using the existing technology, you had to stamp that coin 7 to 11 times. And each time you stamped it, you had to line it back up by eye. So maybe 9 times out of 10, you got a shadow and that coin wasn't useful. Finally, when you made it correctly, that relief was so high that the coins wouldn't stack properly. And if you're going to use them for commerce, having coins that don't stack isn't very practical. And so that played right into the Mint's hands, because the Mint was very upset that Teddy Roosevelt went outside of their family to contract with Augustus St. Gaudens to make that coin. They were delighted to dumb it down and make it flatter and take some of the detail out. And eventually, the coin got lower and lower relief and less of a beautiful coin. So when I came along as Mint director, one of the few things that I was able to initiate completely on my own, wasn't on anybody's radar, nobody had this in their plan, there was no idea put in my head, was this notion of, here we have what's arguably the most beautiful design and most symbolic design ever in America, let alone probably the world, but it was never really made the way it was supposed to. And could the Mint's modern technology showcase this St. Gaudens original double eagle design, as we, the United States Mint, have the best technological prowess in the world, because then we can mass produce this. And so I set out the Mint to make this as a way to focus their internal reform efforts. And the bottom line is we were able to not only take the highest, most regarded version of St. Gaudens' original plasters, but make a digital reproduction of it right down to the last pixel, and translate that design directly onto a die. So what makes this so different is, back in the old days, you used a Janvier reducing machine. It was basically a brush on a record, and the record was the plaster, and it would take the plaster's humps and bumps and etch it out on a small master die, of which you'd make more dies off that master die. Well, whatever that master die was, it was always going to be less than what the original plaster was. And here we're able to take the original plaster, that design, right down to the last pixel, and carve it into the master die directly. And so that way you got the truest expression of what the artist and President Roosevelt had intended. That's why I'm so proud of that Double Eagle 2009 Ultra High Relief. And it brings a beautiful design with modern technology, and is able to do it in such a way so you can mass produce the coin now, which they couldn't back then. I think Americans need to be reacquainted with the values that made our country great, and so this was one way that we could do that. Also, as a collector, when you take a look at the best double eagles that were made, were in 1907. There's not that many around, and they're really expensive. I'm not going to have $500,000 or $1 million or $2 million laying around to buy an original. How great it would be to make something better than the original at a price that I can afford, and that any collector could afford. And that's where I think there was so much interest and popularity in that 2009 Ultra High Relief.